review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book There Is No Tiger, no other than Dr. Brian E. Arnold. Welcome to Book 101, Doctor. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on today. Just excited to be able to talk about some of the things that I'm doing. I'm Dr. Brian Arnold. People call me Dr. B, and just excited about my life. Next week I turn 60 years old, so it is going to be another. I hope I live another 60. I hope I'm only halfway. Live to 120, but this is the time of life where it just gets exciting. So, from being a professor and being a teacher and being an athlete, and now I'm kind of in that phase where I get to help people become the person that they need to be in order to do the things that they want to do in life. And so I get to be more of a mentor and work on legacy than, trying to learn. And so, no, learning is every day. I get up every single day and I get excited about, okay, what do I get to learn today? Dr. B or Brian, I call myself. And every day I get to say, hey, this is a new day, a new way to make a difference in our world. And so I have 8 children, 16 grandkids, and when we think about we talk about who you are, it's
Yes.
hard to talk about who you are without talking about your family and your kids. So an amazing, amazing wife, amazing life, and excited about all the things I get to do every day. Get up.
Dr. B, thank you so much for 60 years giving us empowerment. So, what inspired you to write There Is No Tiger?
You know what I was finding out, because it's about overthinking, right? We all overthink, and we think that we don't. Some of us do, but we all know that we pretty much think about those things in life, that the reels that go in our mind, that we sometimes are negative, right? We don't overthink. Hey, my wife is going to love me too much, or I'm going to come home, my kids are going to hug me. We overthink about the things that possibly could happen, the anxiety that it happens. And I just found, as I was coaching and athletes and folks, that that was one of the things that held people back from achievement, is they would say, hey, I want to do this, and then I would get that but, and then they would tell me all the reasons that they weren't going to be able to do, or all the excuses as why they couldn't achieve. And what I kind of found out was, well, how much of that is really going to happen? And then they would look at me and go, well, I don't know how much is going to happen. I said, so you're worried about trying to control things that probably will never happen. And that's what's stopping you from achieving. And so when I went to write this book, I wanted to write a practical book that the everyday person could read, pick up, and go, wait a minute, I do overthink too much. Let me stop overthinking too much, and let me move on to doing something that will allow me to achieve the things, I guess, the purpose. God puts us on this planet for whatever reason, and I think we all have a different purpose, but some of us just never find it because we're so worried, most of the time, it's worried about what other people think
Say.
about us.
True. Let it go what people say about you because they don't care about you. They just want to fail you.
Yeah.
so, so, Dr. B, how does the book define overthinking and why it is such a common problem?
Yeah, well, when we think about fear, right, we have a fear. Like, one of the greatest fears that people talk about is the fear of speaking, public speaking. And when you think about what fear really is, public speaking is not a fear. A fear is like a tiger or a snake is going to bite you and eat you, or you're going to walk in and somebody's robbing you. Those are things where your body reacts, flight or fight, and you run. That's what true fear is.
Yes.
What we overthink are the fears of things we don't. I would say more of an anxiety of what we think might happen. And so we all do that. We all go through this. Like I said, it's a movie reel. It's almost as we see ourselves outside our body and we start believing the things that could happen. If I have my children, and let's say I'm out and I get a flat tire and I'm not going to make it home to see my kids in time for an important play that they're in. And so I got this flat tire. Now I'm thinking, well, if I don't make it to their play, then they're going to be traumatized. And then when they be traumatized, they're going to hate me forever. And when they hate me forever, they're going to grow up and they're going to marry somebody and they're going to, traumatize that person. Then they're not going to have kids because if they have kids, and we go on and on and on and on. And most of the stuff, like I said, 98% of the stuff that we ruminate on or we think about never actually happen. And so instead of trying to think positive and think of, okay, what's going to bring me fulfillment? What's going to bring me joy? We think about all these things that are not bringing me joy. And then we paralyzes ourselves, right? We literally stop ourselves in our track and say, well, I guess I shouldn't do it because my mom's going to be mad if I do. Well, did you even ask your mom if it was, that you were telling her you were going to do it? Which is, it's just so funny. When, I was talking to, I coach track and field, and I was talking to one of the athletes yesterday, and she's going to high jump. And she goes, well, what if I miss?
Mm.
I'm like, well, this is one of those events where you always miss at the end because you fail because there's a height you won't hit. And so it's one of those events you always end up failure. So it's not what if I miss, you're gonna miss. So go make it first. You know?
Certainly. So let's do understanding overthinking and anxiety. How does overthinking affect our daily lives and decision making?
Oh man, let me give you a story. And it's a story that I use in the book because that is an amazing question. So there was a time when I was going to, I won a sales contest, and I had a team of people that I was able that helped me win it. And we're going to go down to St. Martin, so we're going to go to one of the Caribbean islands, and everything was going wrong as we're going. So the limo who was picking us up didn't show up on time, so we figured we're going to miss our flight. One of our participants didn't have their right birth certificate. They actually had their brother's birth certificate. It didn't have the right name on it, so they were worried. We go to the flight. We get to St. Martin, and the car that we were supposed to rent that was a van ended up being like this little bitty Honda that now 9 of us are supposed to fit in this Honda, and everything's going wrong. And I'm getting upset, and I'm angry, and I'm frustrated. And we get to the finally shuttle everybody to the hotel, and I get to the hotel, and then the people say, well, we don't have your reservation. We can't find your reservation. It shows it's for next week or something like that. And and so now I'm really angry with the person there. And so out from the corner comes this concierge, and he's running over to me because I'm starting to yell at the lady who's behind it that she didn't do anything wrong. She was just trying to be helpful. But at this point, I'm boiling and I'm hot and I'm thinking, what are we gonna do? Where's my team going to stay? We're on this beautiful island that's far away from where we came from. And he says, what's wrong with you, man? And I say, and I start going into all of this. And he goes, I understand, man. He said, but is there a tiger going to eat you? I said, no. Is there a shark going to eat you? No. Is there a snake going to bite you? I said, no. He said, but here on the island, man, there are no problems, only inconveniences. And right there, boom, it hit me. Wait a minute. We're on one of the most beautiful places on the planet. There's nothing I can do about it. They're going to solve this. And I just took this thing to number 100, that no fault of the people that are there, probably doing it. And how can I now live my life differently where I don't ever go to 100 when there's the things that are out of my control, those contributing factors that are there. And I began this journey of what do I need to do when I begin to start escalating like that, when my body starts heating up, when I start getting angry. What are some techniques and breathings and that kind of stuff? And that was how the book pretty much started, and why I understand overthinking so much better now, and how not only just what happens while we're overthinking, but how do I deal with it? What are some things that I can do to kind of lower that anxiety?
So, what are the biological and physiological reasons behind anxiety?
Well, a lot of it is just that we are humans, and we have this thing where we have language. And language can be the best thing because it allows us to communicate. But the problem is, language allows us to communicate with ourselves. I can talk right now without thinking, but I can't think without words. And the words that we use and the words that we tell ourselves can ultimately be our demise because we move everything over into our left brain. We try to be logical with our words instead of creative. If we were able to move over to the right side or the creative side of our brain, we would then begin to figure out pictures and things that would allow us to say, wait a minute, this isn't really happening, or this isn't the words. I mean, you think about somebody who's public speaking and they're super scared of it. They get up on stage and we tell them stuff like, imagine somebody who is naked, or imagine, you talk to one person in the audience. We're asking them to stop using language in order to see where they're at. So start using pictures that allow our creative side to take over and say, wait a minute, this anxiety piece is just silly. We don't need to go there where we let this chemical in our bodies really react to things that really aren't true. But we can convince ourselves. You think of like folks that commit suicide, right? They have now convinced themselves that what is going to happen, because it's probably not happening right now, what is going to happen as a result of their life is worse than being dead. And we do that through the things we tell ourselves. And we learn to use language and tell ourselves all these negative things. I'm not good enough. I don't have the ability to do this. I'm way out of my depth. What are people going to think if I do this and I fail? Right? Fear of failure is a huge one that people talk. What if I fail? Okay, what if? All of us do, in order to understand what not failing is or what achieving is. We have to have a contrast, right? Two sides of every coin. And so we have to know what it's like to fail. There's only a one
Certainly.
side piece of bread. I've never seen a one side piece of bread. Oh, there's only one side coin. Oh, I've never seen a one sided coin. There's only one side piece of paper. Oh, well, I've never, because those things have to exist. We have to have the yin and the yang, the both sides of each of every situation.
Certainly. So let's talk about emotional and cognitive approaches. What is the connection between negative thought patterns and anxiety?
Yeah, well, and that's a really good. I mean, when you think about our negative thoughts, um, we literally take those thoughts and we create even pictures or beliefs in our mind. And beliefs are so powerful. Our subconscious mind is more powerful than we could ever believe. And so the more negative and the deeper the thought, because we have negative bias, we all do. We all look at things, we try to see the bad in things first before we see the good in things. It's just part of our human nature. I don't know. It's how God just, with Adam and Eve or whatever, if you're a Christian, you believe in that. I mean, it's just we just have a predisposition to start believing what is the worst that could happen instead of the best that can happen. And we have to consciously change that. We have to change the way we talk to ourselves. We have to change the way we talk to each other. We have to change the way as parents that we talk to our kids. And when we start doing that, people can then begin to start thinking, okay, there is a positive side, and how do I find that positive side and look for it? And then that takes away the anxiety. I mean, there's even things when you start getting and you feel that, right? If you've ever taken a big deep breath, what are we doing? We are now taking a breath where we're putting oxygen back into our brain, right? Because if emotions are high, intelligence is low, right? So we have to now, and we've all known people, right? We don't think very well when our emotions are like going crazy, right? But if we can bring our emotions down through breathing, through exercises, through talking to ourselves, Now our emotions are low, our intelligence now gets to come up, and now we get to make a rational decision instead of an emotional decision. And then when we start talking about decisions, there's all kind of things that's my second book is the five decision formula, 5 steps to making great decisions. And so that goes straight along with the anxiety and anything that we're doing. So
So, Dr. B, what are the some effective long-term habits to prevent chronic overthinking?
yeah, I mean the biggest thing is to know that I guess the biggest thing would be to know that you are overthinking, to realize it, to go, wait a minute, to stop yourself in the tracks. That would be the number one thing is know that it's part of who you are. The next thing is now you start doing some type of exercises, and I have lots of different ones that are in the book. Like breathing is one that is what's such a good exercise. Or talking to yourself through. Like, if you've ever asked yourself, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And you walk down that road, okay, so the worst thing that could really happen is if I speak on stage, people might not like what I have to say. And then you go, okay, so what's if people don't like what I have to say, is that going to make my kids not love me tomorrow? No. Is that going to make so you start now rationalize, okay, so if people don't like me, then maybe I'm not going to be a public speaker. Well, if I'm not a public speaker, which I'm already not, is that really a bad thing? Well, not really. And then you start asking yourself the what ifs. But what if they do like me? What if I speak and I change somebody's life? Because there's 3 areas where we get fulfillment out of. The first area we get familiar out is learning and creating. So the more we learn and the more we create, we get excitement. We get excited about love and connection and relationships. And so, the more people that we can be around that can understand us and then we get satisfaction from giving. And so what if somebody listens to me because I created this great lesson that I'm teaching, and now they're clapping for me and they applaud me. And then what if I then go talk to somebody in the audience and they tell me it's because of you that I was able to transform my life. And then you go, okay, now you're able because of that to be able to give back. And now you're giddy and you're excited, and now, oh, I was scared of doing this. And so you can, because your mind's just as effective if doing negative it is positive. And so
So,
now you're in this position where things are much better now than they were before you ever started down that anxiety road. And I'm not talking about like there's clinical anxiety where it's gotten so bad that you might need a therapist or you might need somebody to help walk you through why this is so deeply rooted in the trauma and that kind of stuff. And so I don't want to act like none of that stuff ever happened, because those factors do happen, and there are things that happen in people's life that genuinely can create anxiety. But for most of us, we're creating it ourselves.
certainly. So, Dr. B, what will be your advice for those people out there overthinking too much?
The advice would be go read the book, right?
Yes.
you know,
Certainly.
that would be the best advice. But yeah, I mean, the advice is, like I said, first realizing that you're doing it, and then take your steps to stop doing it, and then find within yourself what is really important to me, what do I love, and go pursue that. Find your purpose, and when you find your purpose, anxiety kind of diminishes because you're doing exactly what you were put on this earth to do.
Definitely. What will be your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
My short term and long term goals. Well, I keep telling myself. So I was a special ed kid. When I was in special ed classes, I was told I would never even go to college. I was told that I would never, that I have dyslexia and you're not going to be able to spell and all that kind of stuff. And technology has allowed me to speak to the computer instead of type to the computer or write freehand. And so I said, well, I'm going to go write one book and we'll see how it does. And so I wrote the one book. As soon as I got done with this book, I wrote another book. I told you about the decision formula, and now I've already finished the decision formula. It's going to come out this month, and now I've actually halfway done with another book called Be Do Have, become the person you need to be in order to do. So when I say that, I could say, well, I'm never going to write another book. But I'm like I said, maybe between now and I'm 72, I might write 20 books. I don't
Definitely.
know. People are loving them and liking them. So far, I'm getting feedback. Yesterday I was at the trade. This book is so good. I'm highlighting it everywhere. I've had people say that, hey, we went and did a book club on your book, and all the people, maybe you can come talk to us. So now it's setting up speaking engagements and workshops, and so yeah, if I can write something that somebody wants to read and can help their life, I'll keep doing it. Now, if I write stuff and nobody wants to read it, then I won't write no more.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. B, and thank you for your advice. So, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, People, fifth season, with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen Food 101 wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. B, if readers take away just one key lesson from There Is No Tiger, what should it be?
It should be that do not let overthinking stop you from achieving your dreams. Whatever it is that is stopping you or putting you behind it, and if it's in the realm of overthinking anxiety, please figure out ways to deal with it because you deserve to have the best that life can give you.
You deserve better. Excellent. Dr. B, thank you so much for sharing your empowering books to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yes, and the way you do it is go to brianearnold.com. That's BRIANEARNOLD.com. Everything that I do, post, social media, everything is right at that site. So please go ahead and support. If anything I can do to help you, I'm just a email away.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Brian because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books to come. And thank you so much for the 60 years you are empowering us. Dr. B, thank you so much for your time.
All right, you guys have a wonderful day.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, Dr. B, you are most welcome to come back and let's talk about your other